Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Decided to try something new today, so for this video, we're reviewing a roguelite game. Most of us has probably gone to school before. It's a place of learning, self-realization, and making friends. But what happens when you take that environment and turn it into something dark? The teachers start doing tests on the children, the school projects come to life and try to kill you, and the students start harming each other. Well, what we described is the setting for the game Our Darker Purpose. In this game, we follow the story of Cordy, an introverted 8-year-old girl who lives in Edgewood Home for Lost Children. On the day before her 9th birthday, the adults disappeared and the popular kids and strong kids started murdering the quiet kids. You know, just your regular Tuesday. At the end of this onslaught, Cordy survived after being hidden by a toppled bookcase, and from there we start the game. The controls are pretty standard, WASD for movement and arrow keys to launch flame projectiles. Apparently, Cordy was able to do that from the beginning with no explanations at all, but I digress. You can press space to tuck into a roll, speeding you up while making your hitbox way smaller. Kinda familiar, isn't it? Q lets you drink health potions which come in juice boxes because why not? Yeah. E lets you use active items you collect, and R spawns chalk dusts which break projectiles and harm enemies who inhale it. Lastly, C lets you check your stats and upgrades. And speaking of upgrades, power-ups in Our Darker Purpose come in 3 forms: items, books, and lessons. Items can be found in each floor, taken from slain champion enemies and bought from vending machines. Wait, that's a vending machine? Most of these items just give passive bonuses that take effect upon pickup, but some of them require you to complete the task before giving their buffs. There's also the rare case of extremely powerful items which break after taking a set amount of damage, so try not to get smacked around while holding these. Whenever you slay enemies, you gain experience points, and when you gain enough, you level up and gain increased stats. This is also where books come into play. Books are passive bonuses that you pick from 2 choices whenever you level up based on the amount of enemies you slay. The books' names are modified versions of real-life books like Perks of Being a Ranged Wallflower, 5 People You Meet in Edgewood, A Clockwork Orphanage, and many more. Lessons are a little bit different. As you do certain feats in the game, you unlock lessons, and you can purchase them from the upgrade section on the main menu. For these lessons, you are given a set amount of class periods you can allot, which limits the amount of lessons you can set in your runs. You can gain more class periods by spending the credits on the counselor. Not gonna lie guys, he's not looking so hot. You gain credits whenever you finish a floor, which scales depending on your performance. You also gain credits when performing certain feats. Now, I've been mentioning performing feats, so where exactly do we find them? So you can click on the lore and achievements on the main menu or press L while playing. You gain scraps of lore whenever you reach certain floors, pick up pieces of paper, or beat certain bosses. These stories come with the tasks for you to do which give various rewards. So what makes Our Darker Purpose special? Well, I think the game has its own charm, which kinda makes it feel like you're playing a game directed by Tim Burton. Well, first of all, let's talk about the enemies. The Brogs, which are just regular stressed out looking children who use school stuff as weapons. Wait, nope, those are caltrops. The Woundworts, who I'm pretty sure aren't children because of their massive size. Take it easy on the protein shake there, Jimbo. The Capulettes?
Capulet.
Oh, whatever. They're the magic users who are most likely demon worshippers. The Gifted, which are the smart students who build their own mechs for battle. And last but not the least, your caring friends, which I can most accurately describe as your sleep paralysis demons. Another thing that adds to the charm is how badly the administrators treat the children. Oh wow, I never thought those words would ever come out of my mouth. Now, you don't see this firsthand, but you can see them in the item descriptions, game text, and lore. For example, here are a few texts pertaining to this. We will address this so-called infestation if, and only if, the bugs are proven carnivorous. It appears that this was an easy floor. Next time, set it on fire. We believe in you. Please, take more foolish and deadly risks. No style, no strategy, no skill. meets expectations. Others attempting horseplay in the garden should, like Peter M., do so near the roses. There's more loose change in the house incinerator, if you're so inclined. Fang poisonous and generate electric shocks, seeking student caretaker. Lastly, you'll even get a failing mark for dying. Now, the school's horribleness doesn't end there. There are various supernatural occurrences which are treated like it's something normal. Here are a few examples. The leader of the Capulets once beat a kid in a game of tic-tac-toe, and that kid got dragged by spectral hands into the chalk markings. Sentient bowls of leftovers sometimes, just casually come to life and attack the children. And sometimes the furniture just casually strike conversations with each other. Now, without spoiling much, that's essentially the game. Terrible stuff are happening in Edgewood and you're determined to get to the bottom of it. Or technically the top because they're climbing. Anyways, you beat enemies, get to the end boss, something terrible happens, and you start over with all of your memories. After starting over and beating the same end boss, you remember the same terrible thing that happened and avoid that, then you proceed to the next floors and you repeat this until you beat the game. If this seems appealing to you, here are some tips and tricks that will help you get far in this roguelite game if you decide to pick it up. Defense is better than offense, so don't be greedy and put yourself out of position just to get a shot at an enemy. So with that, focus on getting a few licks in while trying your best to be untouchable. Remember, this is a roguelite game, which means your health is your greatest resource, considering once you die, you start over. With regards to that, if you're deciding between lessons, books, and items, try to consider picking the more defensive option, but it's completely up to you. If you think that you can go throughout the game without getting hit, then whoop-de-doo! Feel free to take the offensive buffs. Speaking of power-ups, taking the mud lesson after you beat the first chapter is extremely handy since it will allow you to attack while rolling. Try to save your juice boxes until you really need them because there are some books that give permanent stats when you drink that sweet juice. For these spiky thorn shooting plants, it's a better strategy to just walk in one direction because they have pretty good tracking, and if you move fast or double back on your movement, you'll end up getting hit. Every now and then, you'll see these brown-looking students going in different directions. Just keep following them and eventually they'll run into a wall. Go through the same wall and you'll eventually reach this room. Interact with the objects in the room and you'll get free stuff and lore. Oh, also, there's sometimes a boss fight in these rooms, so be careful. As soon as you unlock any piece of lore, take a look at the associated challenge and try your best to complete them for rewards that will help you in your journey. Yeah, that's right, I drank a health potion for 1 HP worth of healing. When faced with a room full of enemies, it's best to deal with the weak ones first, then go for the tougher ones. This is to decrease the amount of stuff you have to dodge at the same time. Remember, doing math is hard, but it's harder while you're getting shot at. Malice in Wonderland is a great book to pick up because of the utility. Your attacks can just essentially neutralize the threat posed by some obstacle courses or some enemies in the game. Just press R if you ever feel like you're about to be overwhelmed by projectiles, so save yourself the panic attack by blocking these bullets. Oh, these guys. These guys just suck. I hate these guys in general. But I guess just lure their projectiles to hit an obstacle or a wall to destroy it? I don't know, I just rush these guys as soon as they appear. Lastly, when climbing, you'll notice that among the choices of floors to ascend to, some floors come along with features. These features can range from a darker environment, but you'll be given a huge discount on vending machines, enemies that take more damage but in turn, so do you, or all enemies become weaker on the floor but you won't find champion enemies, and many more. With that in mind, choose accordingly depending on your playstyle and current situation. Now with that out of the way, it's time for my honest opinion of the game. All in all, the game captures the essence of a roguelite game. The way the story is presented gives it a good replay value. You beat a chapter, you go back to the beginning, and after you beat the same chapter, you're allowed to progress a little further. The power-ups are pretty standard as well, but it gives its own unique take on having to earn them and equip them outside each run when talking about lessons. Also having stats like dodge rate, crit, and resistance is a breath of fresh air for me when it comes to these types of roguelites. The dark humor presented by this game's world is also a plus point for me because I find myself cracking up at the horrible things happening to all the students, and for a while it kept the game fresh for me. With that being said, as with most games, I have a few complaints. There's a ton of lore in the game and they're all presented through walls of text, so if you want to know what's going on in the game, you're gonna have to do some reading. Mind you, I enjoy reading, but I can see how some players may be put off from wanting to know more about the game's story because of this. Another thing is that sometimes the map gets in your face. I mean, I know that you can move it around or just make it disappear, but it kind of just bothers me that there's no specific place for it on the screen. Speaking of in your face, the mouse kind of just sits there as well. I will admit, however, that I only noticed this when I started editing the clips, so I guess you could say that you'll barely notice it once you start playing. But boy, did it bother me while editing this video. Some audio files are reused. I am not gonna tell you which ones, but if you play the game, I'm sure you'll know what I'm talking about. Lastly, the conversations the furniture have just happen when you least expect it. So when you're battling down through a room, you kinda just miss some of them accidentally. But outside those complaints, all I can say is that if you love a good old-fashioned roguelike, you'll probably enjoy this one. So if you want to try one out, buy it on Steam or something. Support the developers. Anyways, that's all from me, and I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Bye-bye. So, I hope you all were entertained by that video. Click here if you want to watch another video of mine, which is selected by the magical YouTube algorithm. Please don't forget to gently click that like and subscribe button if you liked my content. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll be seeing you guys. Bye bye.